Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Bryce Kirkpatrick with Realtor Solutions. Today we're going to do a tutorial over installing some landscape lights. We know that there's some of y'all out there that are, obviously some DIYers, want to do it yourself, and so you want to run down to local Ace Hardware or to the Central Turf Irrigation or Site One and purchase these materials and do it yourself, and that's perfectly fine. So today I'm going to kind of show you a few little steps of how to actually go through the process of wiring up each individual light, just kind of showing you a process. So today you're going to need a couple of different items. You're going to need basically, if you go down to like a Lowe's or or to Site One, you're going to end up with a roll, which this is not quite it, but a roll of actual low voltage wire. You're going to need a pair of wire splitters, wire cutters, and then of course today we're going to use just standard wire nuts. But when you're doing this installation, you're going to want to use the more of a waterproof type wire nuts, preferably the ones that already have silicone in them. Now you can buy the type that you actually would use a type like this that are dry type, and then you would insert them into an actual silicone filled tube. Those are very important because you don't want moisture getting into these connections once they're installed in the ground. Because basically what happens are they'll short out and your lights will quit working. So today, if you want to continue watching on this video, we're going to go through the process of kind of how to do all this, and hope you're excited. So today we're going to take our wire that we explained about, your low voltage wire, and then of course once you have your lights will have leads on them. The light wire will be a little bit smaller than what you're actually going to use coming from the controller that powers the unit. So you would typically have this wire here would actually start from the controller. It would come out of the garage area, or depending on where you mount the controller, if you do it on the outside of the house, it would actually come down, and then you would run this throughout the field to tie into each light. So what you would basically do is once you get your light in the position that you want it to be in, you would take your two wires, and on these wires, probably hard to tell on this video, but there's two ways to kind of identify each side of the wire. Some wiring will actually have, like I believe this one here is kind of hard to see, but it actually has like letters on here that actually explains what the wire is, what type it is. And the other side has no, absolutely no writing on it. And then it's also going to have little ridges on one side and smooth on the other. Now on this one here, the writing is smooth, and the other side, it doesn't have writing, is ridges. So kind of the same thing would be on this particular wire. So on this one here you have ridges, and on the other side over here it's smooth, and it would normally have writing on it. So basically what you would do, and this is kind of, it's really a preference thing. There's really no right or wrong way on how you would wire these up, but you got to make sure you do it all the same based on each light, because if you cross these up anywhere along this side, along the area, you're not going to have any successful lights working, and you're going to be scratching your head and wondering what's going on. Or even if you go out there and you try to fix this yourself because it quit working and you don't wire it back up the way it should be, it's not going to work, and you're going to be frustrated, scratching your head, trying to figure out what's going on. So what we do here at Realtor Solutions when we do all our light installs is we try to install the lights the same exact way. So we do basically letter to letter, smooth to smooth, or rib to rib, smooth to smooth. Because then that allows us to know, okay, it's wired this way, and we do that all the way down the line so that we know that all the way down the line the lights are wired up right. And number two is if we ever have to come back to the job for any reason, we know exactly how it's wired up, so that way when we take it apart, there's no questioning of, okay, I got to make sure it's wired which way now. So today what we'll do is we'll take our wiring. So we got our ribbed, and we got our smooth, and we got on this one here, we would take it and pull it apart like so. It doesn't matter how far you pull it apart, you want to make sure you give yourself enough room. And then on this one as well, you have smooth and you have ribbed. So then what you would do is you would take your handy dandy wire strippers, and you would choose a size that fits you for the best for this wire, and you would take it, and you ain't got to cut all this off, but just a little bit. And you'll take it on there and get you just enough wire exposed to where it has enough meat to grab inside the wire socket. And then same thing with your smaller rib wire. You would take it, and this one here is a little smaller sometimes, so you have to really look at it. And then you would take this and do the same thing. You'd pull just enough of it, and boom, just like that. So now you expose the wire. So then what you would do from there is you would take those two together, stick them together like so, and then take your wire nuts, preferably, like I said, the silicone filled version. That way they keep moisture out, but today we're going to use this just so we don't get all this wire nasty from the silicone, because once you put them together, you don't want them apart because that silicone gets everywhere. So then you would take your wire nut and you would take it, stick it in there together, and you would screw just like you would put a nut on there. And as you tighten it down, that wire eventually tightens up together inside of here, and then boom, you won't really be able to spin it anymore. Now you've got a nice firm connection. All right, and then we will do the same for the other side. We'll take our wire splitters, cut just enough off, just like so, and do the same thing on our smooth, just like so, and then repeat the process we just did by sticking these two together. And then screw it on just like so. And now at this point, we have a full connection, and this light will now turn on and work. Now, I want to explain one thing to you just so you kind of have an understanding of how this works. I don't want to go through the whole process because I can kind of explain it to you and you should get the idea, but if you ever have any questions, concerns, or anything like that, reach out to us here at Realtor Solutions, 478-988-0043. I will be happy personally to come out or talk to you on the phone and help you out even further with how this works. But typically when you run these wires, now like if for example this light was the last light on the wire last light on the wire, you would wire it this way because your power would stop here. All right. Well, if you were starting out and you had lights leading up to this point, you would actually take your wire that your power comes from and you would actually cut it in two. Well, then what you would have is you'd have two wires over here, two wires over there. So then you would actually take this lead wire, and we would do the same process, rib to rib, smooth to smooth, and you would take a rib wire on this side to the rib wire on this side, and then the rib wire this, and you would actually hook these together like so, to where now you have a continuous run this way. So it's kind of the same process as what we just did. The only thing different would be is you would have another bigger wire in here and another bigger wire in here, to where that way the path of the power source could continue on down the line to each light from there on, and that so on. And then once you get to the end of the line, you can always, or I say end of the line, but the last light you're going to install, then you can install it the way we just showed you. Or even in some cases, you know, you just take it, don't put no light on it at all, cut it off, put some wire nuts on it. That way the power stops there. So I hope this was very useful. Like I said, if you ever have any questions, concerns, if there's something you're going to do one weekend on your own, and you want to fresh up, make sure you know exactly what you're doing, you can watch. I hope you watch this video, and I hope you learn a lot from it. But if not, I'll be glad to help you any way I can by giving me a call here at Realtor Solutions. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you again soon.